Hey everyone, it's Tim at Broken Dice bringing you a channel update. This is an update dealing with my solo wargaming project, Rome in Iberia. Um, Finally getting around to getting some stuff back on the table. Uh, Other gaming in my area is kind of slowed down to a trickle, so kind of missing throwing some dice around on the table, moving stuff around, so I'm going to go ahead and do another installment on my solo wargaming campaign. So what we have here, and a large flat plane, very featureless, uh, are my Iberian troops to the top of the screen, the Romans to the bottom of the screen. We're going to go over some uh, army composition, then we're going to talk about tactics, and then we're going to talk about the goals for my army, um, as I'm going to try to defeat these pesky Romans, which I haven't done in the last three battles. You think, solo, how did you lose three solos? Well, it's because, when the dice are bad, well, the dice are bad. So let's take a look at the army composition that we have on the table for the two forces, and then we will talk tactics. Let's move down closer to the table and take a look at the units. Okay, here we are on the Iberian right. So we have a unit of medium cavalry, a commander behind them, two units of catrati in front, and then one unit of scutari in the back. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the center of the Iberian forces. Okay, in the center of the Iberian forces, we have a fairly large unit. Basically, we have our Celt-Iberians in the front, supported by two Scutari in the back, in a boar's head formation. I will talk about that when we talk about the tactics. And then in front, we have a unit of skirmishers and then two units of Catrate to kind of soften up these Romans a little bit. So let's move on and look at the Iberian left. Okay, the Iberian left, it's a fairly good size force here. We have a unit of medium cavalry, a commander, two units of Scutari, two units of Catrate, and a skirmishing unit. Okay, so let's take a look at the opposite numbers for the Romans, and let's switch sides of the table with the camera, and we'll take a look at the Roman forces. Okay, across from the Iberian left, we have the Roman right. All the Roman cavalry, basically, they are um, Gallic medium cavalry. Then we have a unit of slingers in front, and then supporting two units of Roman legionnaires. You know, cohorts, legions, however you want to go do it. I normally have mine set up as cohorts, but so we'll just say two units of Roman legionnaires. Just standard legionnaires, nothing fancy going on here, plus a commander. So let's go ahead and move over and take a look at the Roman center. Okay, here we have the Roman center, and it's the largest grouping, largest division, let's say. We got two units of skirmishers. We've got with slings. We have three cohorts, three units of legionnaires, a commander, and a scorpion. Actually, there's the army general plus a commander right back there. So with the Romans, I always do that because one of the advantages they always had over tribal peoples were their command and control. It was so significant that I think it needs to be utilized on the tabletop to give you that feel of, well, disorganization for the tribals and almost too much organization for the Romans. So yeah, between all the legates and consuls and centurions and stuff, the Romans were quite leadership heavy compared to most of the tribal forces of that time. Okay, so that takes a look at the Roman center. Let's move to the Roman left. Okay, on this Roman left, this is their Iberian allies. In my campaign, the Romans have conquered enough and subdued enough tribal forces through either treachery, bribery, or just flat out beating the crap out of them, to where now they can bring in allied contingents of Iberians. And this division here consists of a unit of Scutari, some skirmishers, a unit of Catrati towards the rear in a support position, and then two small units of cavalry, a small unit of light cavalry and a small unit of medium cavalry. Um, yeah, this ought to be interesting with what it's facing against the Iberian right. So we'll see how this goes. Well, that's kind of the disposition of the forces and the composition of the forces. So let's talk about tactics and what I'm planning on trying to get accomplished in this battle. So let's move down to the table and just have a little discussion. As a lot of you know, going through my solo wargaming campaign, some of you have seen those videos. I've been using a couple of books and some historical reading to, I don't know, come up with ideas for battles and scenarios and things like that. What's very interesting about this one is my inspiration came from this book here. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to bring up a section of the book where where the author quotes Livy, the Roman historian, and we're going to take a quick little read about what he said, and then we'll talk about the tabletop tactics that I'm going to have to try to employ to win this battle. So let's get to this. Okay, I did a quick video on this one not too long ago, but this book right here, if you're interested in Rome's occupation and the Iberian forces involved, uh, I like this book. It's given me a lot of inspiration. A lot of it is, in the beginning, is a lot of archaeological work, which I find very interesting because it kind of debunks a few things and it talks about weapons and armor and stuff. So um, I guess I should explain that with my Ketrate, because the Ketra was just a round shield, not like a full body scutum. But it was big enough to where it could be used by frontline troops, and so that's why with my Ketrate, I always I add a 6+ save to them because of that shield, and because there was no standardized size of it, but that was utilized by most tribes except for the Celtiberians. They tended to go with the scutum, the more of the body type, full body type shield. Um, yeah, I think that's one thing I just needed to add in there, that during the game because if you play Hail Caesar and you go through the books, it doesn't normally give them a morale save of 6, but I normally do. I add a point to it for their cost, but I do give them that as a save. Okay, so let's take a look at this book. And this is my inspiration for this fight right here. Okay. I'm not going to read this to you verbatim. Okay, just this one sentence right here. When the Celtiberians saw that with the battle lines arrayed and in pitched battle, they were not a match for the legions, they made a thrust with the wedge, in which manner of fighting they are so powerful that against whatever troops they drive their charge, they cannot be checked. Now, I find that an interesting quote from Livy. I mean, most of your Romans, it's like they do that thing where you always want to build up your enemies or degrade your enemies for your own benefit. So it could be just saying, I'll make it look good because we won. We'll make them look more savage and then therefore more capable, so our victory will seem that much greater. That happens a lot. Heck, that even happens today in sports. We're always saying, "Hey, you guys were great. You were this." In actuality, they really weren't. Um, but it is something that it's almost human nature. It's like uh, we want to give handout like that olive branch, even though we've just pummeled the crap out of you. We want to tell you, good job. You know, I don't know. It seems a little condescending and in I don't know. Just it seems rather self-serving, that sort of thing. But in light of that, I have decided that is why that center division is in a boar's head formation. And one of the goals I have set for myself in this game is I have to break that Roman center, the one with 3 units of legionnaires, a scorpion, and 2 units of skirmishers. Now, I have to be able to do that because if this unit, with its size, as it has such a large flanking area, the supports and everything, it's going to be difficult, but it'll be interesting to try it out and see what happens. Now, the other 2 divisions of the Iberians and of the Romans, they play a very significant role, because if the Iberians can hold off the Romans so they can't flank this large boar's head formation, again, that's way top left. You can see how big that is from the side view. And it's got to move across the table and engage those legionnaires across. So that'll be an interesting fight to see if just kind of see it on the tabletop. But as you can tell, that was my inspiration for this kind of setup, this sort of a battle. And like I said, at this point in time period, the Romans were able to call in Iberian allies to have extra troops on the table and stuff, to where they normally, at this point in time, about about 150 BC on, the Romans could actually have a significant numerical superiority at the beginning of a battle. They were no longer like fighting even or at a disadvantage a lot of times. And that was because a lot of tribes had decided to go ahead and support the Romans, not realizing what was really going to come down the pike in the future, which is the same thing that happened to Gaul later on. That homogeneous, large central authority taking on tribal territories with all their tribal animosities and their tribal grudges and discontent with each other. You know, divide and conquer. You separate them out, pick off these, pay these not to participate, pay these guys to participate on your side and then not to participate on your enemy's side. It was a very confusing mess, both in Iberia and in Gaul. But the thing about Iberia is it took Rome a lot longer to subdue it. It could be that at this point in time and through this portion of history, they were fighting the Mithridatic Wars. They were fighting Macedon at one point in time, and all the subsequent fights that went on after that, plus the final conquest of Greece. So you could say that Rome wasn't able to put its undivided attention on the Iberian Peninsula for a large number of years, but that could be why it took Rome so long to subdue that peninsula. But be that as it may, it did take them quite some time. There were rebellions, and then we have the book I first read that got me hooked on this guy, Sartorius. By the time he came along, what was it, 80 something BC? He really gave Rome a scare, but it was a doomed cause, much like the American Civil War for the South. It was a doomed cause from the beginning. It was just a matter of time. and the gathering of strength. Like World War II, I mean, sure, we took it on the chin early, but you know, once a large nation with so many resources galvanizes itself for a struggle, tribal societies or small island nations by themselves will just find it almost impossible to stand against that type of force over that is determined to take what they want. It's very difficult. So it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. Um, this is just an introductory video towards it, but I really, 15 minutes is a long time for me to babble on about this game, and I haven't even rolled some dice yet. So I'm going to get into where I'm rolling some dice, take some pictures. Hopefully these videos I'm going to try to condense them much smaller than what this is, much smaller. I'm going to try to keep them very short and condensed, and because it's always about the action and the aftermath and the combats and stuff. That's what it's all about, and I think that's what people want to hear, want to know what happens and stuff that way. All right, that's enough of this video. This is enough of me carrying on about what I'm going to do. Now it's time to get on and get it done. So everybody stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time.